I was a kid and I can take a blank piece of paper and I can do a drawing and then someone gives me money. I think it's kind of the coolest thing ever. Your creativity is like a well and it's
Okay.
got to be deep
Yeah.
because you're drawing from it to run this sort of heart and
Yeah.
intuitively business. It's not based on data. It's based on something that you almost can't like put
Much
your
deep.
finger on in a way. It's running on like human spirit, basically, which
Yeah.
sounds very woo-woo, but it really is. I've always collected zines. They're just little mini books that anyone can publish, like a self-published book. And so that has been just a huge breakthrough for me to just, one, have a lot of fun and to grow without pressure. I
Yeah.
did get a job, thankfully, right after college, and I got a job as a greeting card artist at Hallmark
Oh,
Cards.
wow.
A lot of people say it's kind of like getting paid to get and like your graduate degree because you learn.
Welcome to the podcast, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good.
So now that we're live on the podcast, how about you first introduce yourself, um, who you are for everybody who's joined us, and a lot of people would be
Sure.
watching this live as well, maybe depending on their
Okay.
time zones.
Okay.
But just introduce yourself. We'd love to hear in your way.
Yeah. I am Sarah Walsh and I'm an illustrator. That's what I do for a living. But I've been an artist like many of you since I was a kid, and I just am lucky that I can do it. And, I can take a blank piece of paper and I can do a drawing and then someone gives me money. I think it's kind of the coolest thing ever. And I feel really
Absolutely.
lucky. Not that there's not challenges, but I typically make children's books. I illustrate children's books. I also work with different commercial clients like Blue Q and Ebu. They're both gift product companies, and Ebu's more puzzles. Those are just a few of my clients. And
Hmm.
then I run an online shop where my partner, who's also an illustrator, we sell it's sort of where our personal work gets funneled and we can try different platforms, t-shirts, art prints, enamel pins, stickers.
Hmm.
And that is through Etsy that we do that. And then I also run a Patreon where I have a mail subscription and I have like a community Zoom and we do live draws and things like that. It's called Slow Mo Art Club.
Okay.
And then I'm this last one, it's not a paid gig, but I'm on the board of this Icon conference. So we're planning the 13th illustration conference for
Oh, wow.
Icon. So that's coming up in the summer. And I think that's it.
That's
That's
it.
kind of the bulk of what I juggle on a day to
Yeah.
day.
That's a lot already.
I Yeah, it's kind of a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's but, as a lot of freelance illustrators and commercial graphic design, it's kind of like, the
Hey,
cool
bye.
thing is when like, if I don't have any commercial illustration clients, like, sometimes there's a month or 2 that goes by, and it's hard not to, freak out, but I've been
Speak
doing
out.
this long enough
Yeah.
where if you have more than one thing going on, you can, especially that's like self-directed,
Yeah.
like my shop is, I run it. Nobody's telling me to do that. So when it's slow for commercial stuff, I can kind of pivot and focus
Focus.
on making some fun new stuff,
Yeah.
you know, uh, in my shop, or I can, work on Patreon. I mean, it just kind of it just once in a while it'll get like crunchy where there's a season where I have like people needing things from me in like all of those different buckets. And that's when I'm like, eh. But thankfully it's not
I
like
can
that all the
imagine what's
time.
going in
So
your head. I mean, when I also feel like there's so many things, and I'm very much like you. Like, I really like, even though it's too much, having so many things to do, but I also find it very interesting and very playful because I think one thing that it really helps is like, if something's not going right, I, even though I know I'm freaking out internally, but I put my energy into something else, which becomes like another creation energy. And then it really,
Yeah.
like it's like confusing your mind. You don't give it enough time to even like, know that, oh, I don't have this of it as the moment, I don't have enough clients, or I don't know if I will, but I have a shop, I can create something new and, you know, do
Yeah,
something.
totally. Focusing on things you can control. And, unfortunately, I know back in the day, like in the 80s, like a lot of folks were making a living just doing one thing. Like licensing was
Yeah.
huge. But now I think as an illustrator, you really do have to have, like, multiple streams
Multiple.
of income, and I
Yeah.
think it's kind of up to the individual to know when it's too much, and especially,
Mm,
like, when you're starting out, I think it's good to sort of start with maybe 1 or 2 things and perfect those things, and then, add more as you go, and then there's always, like, a time where you reassess. You're like, "Is this
mm,
juggling act working for me? Does something need to
mm,
go?" And I'm kind of in that, you know, I'm sort of reassessing things every now and then to figure out like because at the bottom of it all, I was talking to a friend yesterday about like I think one of the things that I've known for a long time and I don't want to get too preachy about it, but like I think if you're going to run a creative business in order to sustain it, you really have to think of it as like I love my cheesy metaphors. Like your creativity is like a well, and it's
okay.
got to be deep
Yeah.
because you're drawing from it to run this sort of heart and
Yeah.
intuitively in business. It's not based on data. It's based on something that you almost can't like put
Much
your
deep.
finger on in a way. It's running on like human spirit basically, which
Yeah.
sounds very woo woo, but it really is. So if you don't have a well deep enough to draw from and mine those gems and keep filling it up, then it's just not going to make it. And so you really do in the beginning have to commit and dig that and spend time in that in order to draw from it as a sustainable business, I think. And so I make sure it's kind of hard lately, but I know I start to feel really weird and like bad when I don't make art for myself. Like it's
Yeah.
basically the glue that holds everything
Yeah. How
together.
is it? Yeah. I get that feeling. And also like, what's how long have you been running your shop? Let's even talk about that.
My shop, um, about 15 years.
Imagine.
And I don't have yeah, well, and I thought about this yesterday. I was like, I wanted to make sure I brought this up. I'm in a lot of ways, I think my career's been sort of slow burn in the shop aspect. We don't sell a whole lot, but we just kind of, I
So
think we have like over 5,000 sales at this point, which is like a drop in the bucket compared to some shops. But it needs to grow organically and slow for me to be able to
yeah,
handle it.
handle it.
And that's because
And
people are like, "Why don't you guys do this? And why don't you guys do that? And you should do this." And I'm like, I love all those ideas, but I know I would be absolutely miserable. Like, I wouldn't be
yeah,
able to I wouldn't I'd have to cut other things out, so
yeah. And also I think a lot of time the question becomes, um, scaling things is not, I mean, if you found a way of, if you found one person, 5%, 10, then you can look out for next 500, 1,000 or whatever. But while
mhm.
we do this, the question I think that keeps coming back to a lot of us as creatives is that I really feel this way. Like, I've been in business for a long time and I've seen and been in the depths of seeing really different businesses. And when I
Mm.
chose to, I didn't even intentionally start Arts to Arts project, but, and even, I'm, as we speak now, I'm also like kind of diving my hands into a dream project that I'd always envisioned,
Ooh.
which is Modern Maharani. It's like an art-based brand that I wanted to start small, meaningful, um, more handcrafted,
Mhm.
not large scale. I don't want to sell 1,000 things, 1,000 pieces, but I want to sell, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
let's say 50, 100. But those will be something that I'm not feeling rushed. I'm not trying to create a
Right.
brand for scale. I'm also trying to create something
Yeah.
that fulfills my soul also, because I want to put that
Yes.
intention into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Well,
think a
and
lot
I
of
don't
artists
wanna
do
I
that.
yeah, I think the intention is huge, and that sounds really exciting, by the way, the project. I I don't wanna bash anyone who scales up
Yeah,
and is like,
absolutely.
honestly,
But it's a choice you have
that
to
is
make
a
in.
it's always a goal, but I know I'm just not ready to let other things go, and there's things
Go
that
ahead.
I've been like, one of the things I've been working on, like, books just take a lot of time, and I
Yeah.
know I'd have to if I were to put more effort into our Tiger Sheep shop and, like, scale up, I think I'd have to kind of pull back from, bookmaking, and one of my goals I've had forever is to do more writing and illustrating books.
Yeah.
And so that takes time, and that also takes, like, a slowness, like a
Yeah.
slower pace, and
Yeah.
I knew, like, 7 years ago, I wasn't ready, like, I just knew, I was like, you don't have the right mentality yet to even, like, approach this." So I tried to once I was aware of that, that was helpful because then I could sort of step back and observe myself in a way of like, well, okay, what do I need to do to like prime this surface so that I can receive this next phase of my career? And so it took some time to get there. And then I'm still, not, I don't want to ever really arrive, but as far as this like goal, I'm not where I'm not like a published author illustrator yet, but I have learned so much and I'm
Much.
very
Yeah.
grateful to just be where I am right now.
You're where you are.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
You've done
so
some really
I'm
cool
hoping,
work.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
just
Go ahead.
want to get more of my weird ideas out there and more
Yeah. I think that's
of
such a big driving force for
my,
most of us, isn't it?
yeah, and more personal. I think more creative autonomy and more just a little like more vulnerable. Which is scary, but I think it's more rewarding, and the longer you do this kind of work, you really do need it to mean needs to mean something, and
Hmm.
even though it's commercial, I don't I really disagree with the idea that, it doesn't commercial work can be meaningful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just providing art in an affordable way is kind of how I look
Yeah.
at it. I think everybody should be able to enjoy beautiful things, whether they mean something or they're just
Or
fun
not.
or they're just beautiful. It doesn't have to have like a deep meaning. It can
And
just
I think
be something beautiful.
something, I think the way Artwood also puts it, it puts everything on a pedestal too. I don't know why. And, you know, I think there's so much beauty in the idea that what is important to you and meaningful for you would be very different from what is important and meaningful to me. Let's
Hmm.
say I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I am very sensitive towards things. You know, mm, I lost my mom, right? I look at
Mm,
anything that has something to
sorry.
do with, that really reminds me of those gestures. If I see a drawing of a little girl or something, and these have become really special moments for me. Like when I look at it, it's just, even in a diary, I would buy a book, I would buy a diary, I would do things like that
Yeah.
you know, just to capture that moment. And
And
I
keep
respond
keep
to that
her
emotion.
with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it means something to me, even if it's in a, I now I look at how closely I observe these feelings. Or I love animals. I love animals. I love my
Me
dogs.
too.
I love dogs in general. Anything to do with dogs. I love books. I can't buy a painting, or I don't even know if I want to do that, like buy a painting of a dog, because I mean, the way I would put it, it's very different. But
Mhm.
like, I would collect small postcards, a book, stickers, anywhere and everywhere, even a newspaper clipping, if there's like a doodle on the newspaper that has dogs and stuff, and I would just respond to it. So I think it, for a lot of people, it may be a very surface thing, but when I'm looking at it, I'm responding out of love. And I feel like, oh, when I see dogs in those spaces, I feel like they're being seen, like, they're getting recognized.
Mhm.
And I think that's very important to me. So I think there's also, when it's said, like, eyes, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. A lot of meaning is what we give meaning to things. And, you know, um,
Yes.
it can, an expensive thing does not have to mean, doesn't say necessarily it has more depth versus something that's
Mhm.
more approachable, made for masses. It could also have the same depth, or that depth actually depends on the person who's viewing it as much as the person who's
Yeah.
making. I think it's a two-way
I
conversation.
I agree with that, and I wanna jump I wanna jump all over that because I feel like there's a lot of, like sometimes people doubt whether they should share their art. That vulnerability is
Yeah.
really, really scary,
Yeah.
and I think when you love something, like you love dogs, I love animals as well, like, I've loved them for a long time since I was a little kid. I think they're so they're magical.
Yeah.
Um, and horses is something I've always loved,
Oh, wow.
and, but I didn't grow up with them. I
Okay.
experienced, my grandfather had horses, and I rode them a couple times, one of them named Big Red, and it made a real deep impression on me, and, but for the longest time, like, as I got older, I always loved them, but I didn't, like, put that front and center. And I think, I wrote this little zine about how horses have kind of helped me through some difficult times. I wanted to say, I'm trying to think, I don't want to make this like an editing nightmare.
You can start from again, and then we'll try to take one part of it.
Okay.
You love
Well,
animals.
you said something. I love animals too, and we are talking about sharing. And I think I know what it is. I wrote this little zine about how much I love horses and how much it helped me as a kid just get through some difficult times and helped with my fear of not wanting to grow up and just some family stuff and basically I think that when you love something as a kid it puts like a protection spell around you, as you get older it sort of preserves that, like, soft part of you, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you grow up, a lot of people kind of squish that down and put it away.
Yeah.
And I think things harden, and I don't know if that's always good. I think it's good to have things that you love and make you happy and
Yeah.
because you're connecting with dogs, you're connecting with
Yeah.
animals. It's like a connection and it's like a lifeline. But
Yeah.
if you're cut off and you don't love anything, I don't know what that's like. I can't imagine anyone that's like that, but I think we sort of don't under I think the value of what we love and what resonates with us, I don't know if we really like I think sometimes we take it for granted how important
Yeah.
it is and sharing that because then other people are like, "You like that? I like that."
I
And
like
then,
it too.
it's
It's,
kind
it's
of,
you bind people together.
"Oh
They become
god,
connections.
I don't know
Can't you? You
why
can't
she
hear
did
me?
that." So, no, I just had my Siri like pop up for some reason. I don't know.
Oh,
I can hear you.
okay.
You
Perfect.
couldn't hear my Siri on my computer just popped up. I don't know why.
No. I couldn't I couldn't hear
Okay.
everything.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay, tell me something. What was, in every artist's life, or not even artists specifically, in our own personal lives also, there are moments that, like, we call them breakthrough moments. And I think you've had,
Mhm,
a lot of experience. You've done a lot of things. And as an artist, I'm saying, and, uh, finding different kind of expressions as a creative, and then also experimenting and slowly diving your hands into different. And I think not only that, but also you've seen a lot of transitions on how things were happening now, how, like, a lot of different time and spaces. What what would you define as your breakthrough moment internally, something really that opened up your mind, or the way you were doing things, or um, got you through got you through further? Like, I'll say first, let's say. For me, I think one of the biggest breakthrough moment has been when I felt like I realized with Ask to Arts also, or like even my own practice, like there is so much of power um, in starting small and being consistent. I think
mhm,
in a lot of ways, when I started Arts to Hearts, I had no intent. I would just show up like I did today, like I told you, A lot of times when I'm not even feeling, I know that if it's important, I will show up. That's the least I can do.
mhm,
And it really opened a lot of
mhm.
doors for me, and, the things we've built. So I want to hear from you in your own creative journey. What have been those breakthrough moments? Some, that opened those doors for you, let go of the fears you had, or something. I mean, I want to listen.
I've had I mean, I've had a I mean, I've probably had, like, a handful, but I'd say I definitely want to agree with you on the baby steps, because I think change or, like, moving the needle comes from small incremental things, and that's not sexy to a lot of people. We want these grandiose gestures and these huge
Yeah,
monumental movements that, like, everything's different now, and it just doesn't work like that. I think
yeah,
you build something, like you said, you decided to just say, "Okay, from now on, I'm just gonna show up as I am, whether I'm at my best or whatever, I'm just gonna show up. It's the least I can do." Like, I love that. And so I think for me, sort of similar to that way with trying to figure out writing and illustrating, I've always collected zines, and I just thought they were the coolest thing. I've loved them for a long time, and some people don't know what they are, and hopefully everyone does, but in case someone listening doesn't, they're just little mini books that anyone can publish, like a self-published book. And so I think writing is something I always put on a pedestal, and, so in order to make it less intimidating and just kind of a way for me to try out and experiment my illustration style with writing and more narrative, just making little books for just for pleasure, for enjoyment, for experimentation, for just for no reason other than that. They don't need a reason to exist, other
yeah,
than themselves. And so that has been just a huge, huge breakthrough for me to just, one, have a lot of fun, and two, grow without pressure and in a way that feels good to me, and in a way that feels sustainable and like it's something I can just keep building on. So, yeah, I can't say enough about just like low bar, baby step, smaller versions of the big thing. Um, just it's not dramatic. It's really
yeah,
not. It's about like small things.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What were your biggest fears, if you look back? What do you think were your biggest fears that you either have them today also, or you kind of dealt with them?
I think, well,
Because
I'm
yeah, I'm sure
working
you
on a
must have.
graphic.
Okay.
I have one right now that's kind of ridiculous, but I'm working on a graphic novel manuscript. Um, that I don't have a publisher yet, but I feel like I'm like
And you're writing
I'm like
one too. You're the one writing
mhm,
it also
yeah.
and illustrating.
I'm writing it, yeah. And I don't know where it's gonna go. And most people don't even talk about this when they're, it's like
Yeah.
it's weird to even say it because a lot of people keep this secret, but I'm kind of an open book and I'm excited about it and I've worked really hard. So I'm not gonna not talk about it. And wherever this ends up, I'm learning a lot, but I feel like I'm like I better not die before I finish this. I've worked so I've worked so hard on it and it's just meant so much to me and I've cried so much while writing it and laughed and like it's been something that's like turned me inside out and I have like 30 pages left and it's
Oh
like a
my goodness.
200-page manuscript and so I'm like I've never done anything like that in my life and I'm like superstitious so I'm gonna get like hit by a bus before I finish.
Look at our
But like
minds, like really, huh?
I
Like
know
the
it's
stories we
so
tell ourselves.
I know, it's crazy. But I think as far as like just in general, like I don't know. I have a lot of fears, but I think
You had, I think let's talk about how a few that you had and then how
I
what
I
happened, what did you do for them to that
well,
to overcome?
I think when I was in college, I think this is probably a common fear of just like how do I go from being in school, being in art school, and then getting a job and then showing up consistently and then making the art under pressure with a deadline and then doing it over and over again. That is so unknown when you're in college and I was a single mom at the time, so I was juggling parenting and going to college and I was waitressing. So I had a lot on my
Lot.
plate and I was like, okay, so after this is over, I have to get a job and do this. So I had a lot of anxiety. But I think one thing that helps me with my fears is humor and, self-deprecation and just not taking I take what I do seriously, but I try not to take myself
That's
too
so sweet.
seriously. I mean, I can get serious when I'm talking about something, but I think, we get in our heads a lot. So I
Yeah.
did get a job, thankfully, right after college, and I got a job as a greeting card artist at Hallmark
Oh
Cards.
wow.
Um,
How
and
lovely
worked.
would that job be? Oh, am I right? Did you enjoy
It
that
was
job?
it was pretty wonderful. I mean, a lot of people say it's kind of like getting paid to get like your graduate degree because you learn.
You learned so
Now
much.
I don't know how it is now because a lot of people don't work in the office, but there was a very golden time of like learning from all the artists around you and it was
Yeah.
I've met my favorite people in the world almost, not everybody, but I've met a lot of wonderful wonderful people there because a lot of the people they hired, this is in Kansas City in Missouri in the States and so they would hire people though from like all over. So we were all sort of transplants because I grew up in upstate New York. Um, but yeah, it was like I got to learn, and that's where one of my creative puzzle pieces was definitely um finding the work or discovering, not discovering, but just coming across the work of Mary Blair. She was like a huge puzzle piece for me. A coworker named Kathy had the I Can Fly book on displayed on her desk and I walked by and I was like, "What is
Good.
that?" I immediately like beelined over because I had never really seen, mid-century
Yeah.
children's book art. For some reason, up until that
Mm,
point, I had not been exposed to that graphic gouache style of painting really that
mm,
was very, like, reduced and very mid-century, and I just
yeah.
fell in love with it immediately, and then I had been very digital up until that point doing Photoshop and Illustrator, and it was Mary Blair, and then it was Alice and Martin Robinson, and just all these mid-century children's book illustrators, and they all used the medium gouache, and I was like,
I love that.
I want to learn how to paint like this. So I self-taught, like I went to
Taught
school
yourself.
for graphic design. I didn't even go for
Yeah.
illustration.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to learn that. And so I was there for like 13 years, kind of
Wow.
honing my illustration. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
long, long
definitely.
time. A
It
lot
is
of
a long,
time.
long time. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
but
And
what?
now
Isn't it a
oh, sorry,
fortune?
go
I think
ahead.
a lot of, I'm just saying, isn't it such a big blessing because a lot of people struggle to even find a job
I know.
that can that can pay them to paint. Like, a lot of arts people who graduate from all different courses, they have to take up a lot
Yes.
of different jobs, teaching and stuff. And like
Yes.
teaching is still,
Yes.
still connected to that, or it
Yes.
completely off the books because, we all have to pay our bills, we have to make a living, and it's not
Mhm.
as easy. But you being able to get that kind of a platform very early on and then sticking through it, I'm
I
sure like
know.
it,
You're not wrong. I think about it every once in a while. I will always think about that idea of being able to experience just showing up every day and being creative and being with other creatives. It's very much like a bubble, and I know it's definitely not lost on me that, you know, a lot of people will never get to experience that.
yeah,
And it was hard to walk away from that, actually. A lot of people stay forever. They'll stay
yeah.
20, 30 years. And I just didn't, I couldn't do that. But my husband works there now.
Oh wow.
It's changed a lot. He's also an illustrator. Um, but yeah, it definitely like filled my cup and taught me so much. And I will always be so grateful of that experience, and I feel like it gave me so much to kind of work with as I kind of went on to the next
Yeah,
phase of
yeah,
my
yeah.
career as a freelance illustrator. So,
How was it starting out as
yeah.
a freelance? Was it not daunting? Like also the kind of skills you would need, not as an illustrator, because I'm sure 13 years you would be heck of an illustrator working. Like, you've learned and done a lot of groundwork. But then starting off as a freelancer, I think it's so hard. It's incredibly hard because
Yes.
you often don't have a clue. I don't know if you're where you were working, did you have exposure to working with clients or like stuff like that? But then
It
finding
can be very
clients,
scary. Yeah, it can be. I don't I don't feel like I have like the most typical experience starting out. I was really fortunate. I feel like I got my butt kicked the first half of my life, and then I woke up and started doing right by myself, and then the universe was just like this the
the
whole
this,
time
yeah.
after that. It was like that because I feel really lucky. I it was like I got a rep. I was interested in this rep. Her name is Lila Rogers. She's retired now,
Oh
very
yeah,
interesting
I love a
lady.
word.
Yeah, I had idolized her and her artist for a long time and, would, like, go on the internet and, like, make Photoshop Pinterest boards, basically, before Pinterest was a thing. I would, like, drag JPEGs and, like, "This is so cool," you know? And so I would idolize her stuff, and I started getting really itchy at homework, and I was like, "I don't know." I had an Etsy, I had a blog. I wanted to see what else was out there, and there's at a corporation, as amazing as it was, there's a lot of politics and
Yeah,
started to kind of affect my spirit. I wasn't happy, and I felt like I could make a go of it. And so a friend of mine, she was like, "You should apply to Lilla." And I was like, "I feel like I have a better chance of getting on the moon." Like it felt like very impossible. And then I submitted my work And I honestly still it felt like, whoa, it felt like winning the lottery. Um, and I was pregnant at the time, and so I was like, when I got the representation, there's some rules like when you work at a corporate, there's like the no compete and
Yeah,
stuff like that. And
yeah,
so I was like, "Ah, I feel like if I don't quit and give it a go, like it's going to be really complicated plus with a newborn and all this stuff." And so my husband was super supportive. He was like, "You gotta see this through. You're gonna regret this if you don't take the plunge.
don't
We'll
do it.
be
Yeah.
okay." But it was really terrifying because our daughter was going into college, so we had college tuition to figure out. We had a newborn on the way. I think a lot of people would not have quit. Like, I think about it now and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. And I'm so grateful that my partner was so supportive because
Support.
that's kind of a big part of it. If your partner isn't
Mhm.
on board, it's like it's no go and it
Yeah.
causes problems. One person wants to do this. And so big shout out to Colin. But like, yeah, so I took the plunge and though so I started my business and I had a newborn and no daycare and it was kind of a hot mess for a while. And then I eventually got like daycare a couple days a week, but I was working like during naps and it was really stressful, but it was very exciting. And
Mm.
yeah, so it was I think I went off a little on a tangent. I hope I answered your
No, no.
question.
There's no wrong
Okay.
way to go.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
It feels like 1,000 years ago, it's like a different lifetime, because now I've been freelancing for, like, as long as my son's been alive, and he's about to turn 12, September 13th, so,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yep, yep, yep.
What's your tip for somebody who wants to, let's say, um, freelance in a way to get more opportunities, take their out there. Specifically, I feel like, you know, I've seen this difference because I've also been myself through different journeys. I started as graphic designer. I worked as a graphic designer,
Mhm,
and then I transitioned with working digital, and I wanted to go into the arts, and I w- I was pretty good with drawing since the beginning, so that felt very easy for me. So I started working on the
mhm.
iPad, and very much like you, ever since I was introduced to gouache, I fell in love with it. It's
Ugh,
still one of the best mediums. It's that's the only medium I use even today. Like,
do you do
I don't know.
acrylic gouache or, water-based or
No,
both?
I do water based gouache, and I love how earthy they are. I'm a very earthy person, so
Mhm,
they really speak to me in a sense because, and they're very very forgiving. They are very flexible. They give a lot of space to me, and I just feel like um, I also have a very illustrative style, like you said. And I'm a person who likes to go in details. And I really like, even though like there's a battle between, larger scale work, small big work, I really enjoy working small. Like, I really like to go into
mhm.
the
It's more
details.
intimate.
Yeah. And that process is also very intimate. Like when I can just sit on a table or I don't know, wherever I'm going, I can just carry it with me and I can be anywhere. And I really
Mhm.
like that. And then, I missed the tangent. What was I saying? What was
Uh,
I? I don't know where was I going? But it's
talk about
got to me.
mediums.
Okay.
I remember the question you asked when I went on the tangent though, and I do wanna you asked me about how to get
Okay, I
jobs as like
remember
a
it now.
freelance
Yes,
illustrator.
yes.
I do wanna
I
talk about that when we're
Yeah,
done with
yeah.
with
So
what you're saying.
when I went into gouache, and my style was very illustrative. So there was also a time I reached out to Lily, and she responded, even though I wasn't in for it. But I was so grateful
Mhm.
that she responded, and I had done the same
Yeah,
thing as yours because, at that time, wherever I would show my work, and I was in India, and India had a lot of baggage when it came to the art, like, oh, this is illustrative, this is this is fine art, this is, there was so much boxes.
yeah.
So I felt like, okay,
That's
my work is
interesting.
maybe not fine art for art, and then maybe it's more illustrative, so maybe I should try
Mm.
illustrations and stuff like that. And, so I did those things, and I think a lot of people, like myself, um, have struggled or struggle with the idea that my work could fit in, like, even if I'm a fine artist, my work fits in the category of an illustration and I could start there. But I don't, because
Yeah.
I'm not from that place and industry. I don't know how to even monetize or even, how to
Yeah.
even find work that can pay me, or I can just, if I want to do some kind of work, how do I navigate that?
Well, I feel like I think the important thing to start from is like what you're passionate about, like as far as I think research is huge, like researching the different markets. Like say, yeah, if you want to break into the illustration world, do you like books? Do you like puzzles? Do you like food labeling? Do you like, because I think the more you can fill in the gap of your personal like passions to professional, you're gonna
It
just
gets,
shine more. And
yeah,
so I feel like when you're, for instance, like, just like if I'm at a bookshop and I see a book cover and I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. And I look at who the publisher is and I make a note of like who the editor is. And I get really, I think a lot of getting jobs is like detective work, when
yeah,
you really have to get specific, and the more specific you are, not to bring the universe in again, but I think that if the more vague we are, we're just like, I just want something cool to happen to me, it's just like, well,
yeah. It's not gonna
if
work.
I was the universe, I'd be like, what do
Like,
you want me to
what's
do with
cool?
that? Like, yeah, I need you to tell me
Tell
exactly what
me.
you want, and I need you to say it out loud. I need you to write it down. I need you to because if you are taking the time to figure out what you want down to the little tiny little speck,
Yeah,
there's no room for doubt. There's no space for vagueness. And the more it's going to happen. And so
yeah,
find out who you love, find out what products you like that have illustrations on it, whether it's like a company that sells stickers.
yeah,
Start a tiny little shop. Just start making the things that within your means that you want to see out there, that you're passionate about, like taking the initiative to just make things happen within your means. I mean, there's also a
yeah.
lot of print on demand. If you don't have any money up front, which most people
Invest.
don't, it's like print on demand companies. You don't have to spend any money and you can, except for like, maybe a listing fee in Etsy is like 20 cents or whatever, but you can make a whole collection without spending a dime.
Invest.
But I think it's like taking the initiative and really sculpting it yourself. Um, and as far as like reaching out to art directors and editorial directors, I think sharing your work and reaching out, it's so scary, I know, to like just email someone and they don't email back.
Me back.
A lot of people are busy, and honestly, it has nothing. I think we like to internalize things and go, oh, they don't like me or they did this, me, 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 me. Take yourself out of it. How other people feel about your work or about
It's not,
you, it's none of your business. If you
yeah,
like what you're doing, that's all that matters. So if
yeah.
you can email that person, like keep a tab, have a little notebook and be like, I emailed this art director on August 15th. Check back in with her in a month. Just, it's like almost like lock in and go, I'm going to be that annoying person
Who's
and
going to read?
email them like 3 times a year with a newsletter. And, it's a slow game sometimes with
Yeah,
planting seeds. You just never know where something's going to start growing. And so whether it's like in-person events like art fairs or, but if you're excited and you're putting out good energy, like something is going to stick. It just
yeah,
may not be exactly when you want or And if you're busy moving on to the next thing instead of twiddling, we're twiddling our thumbs waiting, oh, just forget about it. Put it over here, work on something else and not be fixated on that. And that'll just
Yeah.
kind of keep everything moving. And so that's what I, you know, recommend on like trying to generate work when you're slow or breaking into it. I mean, it's definitely difficult and it's not for everyone. But if you're having a good time making things
Yeah.
at the center of it, then you can kind of deal with all that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. This was really
Thank you
wonderful. I
so
could
much for
chat you a
having
lot
me.
longer, but I want you to, of course, go and take rest. And I, of course, really appreciate your time. So I don't want to take advantage of that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been a pleasure. I think we'll have you a couple more times to maybe
Yeah,
get through
I'd
to
love
your
to be back on.
learnings. And I think, and I hope, and I put this out in the universe that when the next time we meet, we're talking about the graphic novel and learning from
Oh
your
my God,
learning.
I just got the chills. That's so really kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. And I
So
appreciate
I
you
really
taking
hope
the
we make that
time
happen.
to speak with me. Yeah, well,
Yes, I'm sure it
we'll
will.
see. I mean, like I said, I feel grateful, not to be cheesy, but I feel really good about where I am and I'm proud. I never thought I would be able to do something like that. So whatever happens with it,
I can't just
whatever anybody is working on right now, like just it feel just feel good about whatever you're doing. If you're putting yourself out there, it's really hard, it's really scary. So I hope you feel proud of that. I hope you feel better, and I do hope we get to
thank
talk
you so
again
much.
sometime. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you have a good day. And I really
thank
appreciate your time.
me too. I appreciate your time. All right, take care.
You too. You'll have to stay back. Sorry.